Lots of new exciting products and updates to products within the worship and tech space. Let's talk about them, guys. Let's start with the Blackmagic design update here that is long awaited. It is about darn time. They finally have SDI inputs outputs on the back of the ATEM minis. I guess they're not even really calling them minis anymore. It's called ATEM SDI Pro. Yeah, I love it. Adam, does this make you excited?
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, look at
mostly
that
because
graphic. Watch that graphic. I love their website. Hold on.
I don't know how that happened.
Let me refresh the
Yeah,
page. Oh, that is so satisfying.
It's very
that's exactly how
satisfying.
I plug it in when I have one of these units. I just
Totally.
That's true. That's true black magic right there.
Oh,
yes.
very punny. But
We don't
seriously,
have to go there.
why, who would this be good for?
Anyone that wants to run a live stream and has cameras like further than 25 feet away.
Which is most churches.
Yeah, because you don't like the thing with this is you'd have to use a bunch of converters if you wanted to, like, say have a camera in the sanctuary like further, away from front of house booth. Like then you have to have a converter on both ends. Now here is you can just run an SDI cable straight from wherever your cameras are located.
I think this is a great kind of update to our more like beginner, what we call our software-based streaming setup, where we've been using the ATEM Mini Pro, and people have to convert to HDMI often with that setup, like what you just said. But this would be great because what's so great about this ATEM Mini is it's like a little video switcher and a video capture card, like in one device. So then we usually just send that video, that when you cut your live action angles, we send that video from this switcher into software like ProPresenter. We usually recommend ProPresenter because then in ProPresenter, you can overlay your lyrics, graphics, all the things you need to before it's sent to your live stream destination. So if you guys, especially if you're one of the many people who watched the ultimate, what I call it, the live streaming setup 2021, I guess I could update that to 2022 because it really hasn't changed. Our recommendations haven't changed that much. Other than this would be a nice tweak to that setup.
And I don't remember previously being able to have EQ or dynamics on the inputs, which, I'd still recommend you do a audio mix somewhere else, but it's kind of neat that they include that in the software now.
Yeah, I think it has. I know with ATEM Minis, I've been able to go into the audio mixing part of it here. Is that down here on the webpage?
Yep.
Yeah, like I've seen this UI before where you can, it's basically got a mixer built in for every video input coming in, or what more commonly, if you have audio coming from a mixing console going into the mic input, then you could add like a little bit of compression or limiter on there, maybe boost the audio a bit before it goes out to your live stream.
I know why I didn't see it before is because it was secret. Secret
It was?
broadcast features.
Secret.
That's what it
Oh
says.
yeah, that's
Secret
fun.
broadcast
Oh yeah, it
features
does.
built in.
Yeah, very, very impressive. Oh, the other thing too is it really just does all the automatic switching and stuff. Now
conversion.
this is pretty much becoming common across all of the ATEM switchers. Like you just have to deal with, hey, I need the exact right resolution and frame rate from all my cameras to be matched up, and even multi-views or monitors in order for this to work right. But now this is becoming a thing of the past, even with these very affordable live stream switchers.
So this is $349, right? This is the entry price for the first kind of tier is $349, if I remember correctly.
I believe so. We got to pull up B&H somewhere.
Because that's that would be my question: is if it's more cost effective to go this route than if the HDMI version is cheaper, but you have to buy adapters. Does it equal out to about the same, or is one higher than the other? That'd be I mean, I always want home runs, but that's like home runs in terms of signal flow, SDI to SDI with no adapters if you can help it. But it'd be worth at least looking at the price tag to figure out if there is a a variable there.
Yeah, you will need. The thing is, like when you're using this, you have a monitor, usually like a computer monitor right in front of you
Yeah.
that's going to take HDMI in. So you'll still need to convert the output for the multi-view.
Yeah.
Yeah, because your multi-view is going to be SDI now instead of HDMI. So you have to
That's
convert
right.
that. And then
Well, it depends
as
what
far,
monitor. It depends what
that's
monitor
true.
you use, because you could just get a smaller. I mean, I guess you don't want it to be too small. You might be kind of an expensive multi-view to get,
Yeah.
but
Yep.
yeah, because that could definitely get cost intensive, because you'll be looking at those like higher end like Atmos Shoguns or things like that, which
Yeah.
is a little bit overkill.
Yeah, you wouldn't really need anything like this one's 7 inches. It's not going to be enough for a multi-view.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, they all
Yeah,
are
I
pretty
forget.
tiny.
You really need the screen real estate for most multi-view setups. But
Yeah.
I'd rather just deal with one, adapter, back there in the tech booth somewhere, instead of every single camera input coming in needs to be going from SDI back to HDMI again. And what's cool is you can get, when we look at some of these newer cameras that came out, like the Blackmagic, the Studio Pro 4K. I'll see if I can find it here, and you can look it up too, Adam. The outputs on those, even like, I don't think you have SDI out on the Pocket Cinema cameras, but on the Studio camera 4K Pro, and there's a Plus. On the Pro, I believe there's SDI out somewhere there. Yep.
There we go.
On the Plus, do they have SDI out? I can't remember. The Plus does, I think.
HDMI. There's space for it. It's just not there.
Oh, okay. So that's kind of so that's another thing to think about. Okay, maybe you're going with these cameras. It's probably another good reason to go with the Pro if you can, for what is it, another 500-ish bucks. Gosh, I don't know. Or you just get, again, if you're running a long distance with whatever camera you're using, it could be a Sony A series camera, alpha camera, it could be a Blackmagic. Just if you're going over like 25 feet, make sure you use SDI. And maybe in some cases, like, you could get good luck with a HDMI like fiber run, but I just think this is going to really clean it up with the new switcher at the actual tech booth where all the cables are coming in. But I don't know, dude. The other thing I think about is, like, I just really like the rack mountable constellations, like those new ATEMs.
Yeah, and so many times I'm having conversations with people and I say, what is it you're trying to accomplish, but also what is it you want to be able to do in the future? And I haven't run into, since the constellations come out, I haven't run into anyone who's been like, here's what we want to do, and the constellation wasn't enough.
Right.
Yep.
But the price of it is just like maybe $1,600 for that constellation, and this is $800. So it's like once you get past 4 cameras, and if you're doing any outputs to different places, you need a hub. It's like immediately go to that next unit, and you're covered for whatever it is you want to do.
Do the constellations have that built-in recorder on it?
They have the USB-C.
Cool. I love that. They're basically telling you don't need another Blackmagic HyperDeck or anything like that, which is kind of nice.
Hey, if you're wanting to learn about the latest and greatest software and gear for worship tech, I want to invite you to check out our worship ministry toolkit linked below this video. The toolkit has a comprehensive list of all of our top recommendations for worship technology for small to mid-sized churches. We have all the audio recommendations, presentation and lighting, tracks and automation, live streaming gear, computer workstations. Everything is linked in the toolkit to make it convenient for you as you go about upgrading your systems. Click the link below to access the free toolkit today. Let's get back to the video. Moving on, we got some cool updates with ProPresenter 7. Let's walk through these. Adam, I think you're more familiar with what's going on here, so walk us through these updates.
Yeah, so one of the things is like making a template. So you can have, like, if you always have a certain workflow where you've got headers and your countdown, You put in these, you know, placeholders. So that's pretty cool. And then this playback markers is a bigger thing where you can see like it says jump to a specific video playback marker or add new markers. But it's not just like you have this video and on the timeline you can trigger certain macros, you can trigger different looks, different media, all from this one spot. So I know some people that run their tracks from ProPresenter, like along with their slides, now can add different looks and different triggers in there. So that's kind of neat.
Well, this one in I think these markers though, these playback markers, what's cool, here's a like a little great use case that is so annoying, but now we can fix it.
Oh, lighting.
We play the bumper. Yeah, so we play the bumper video before the sermon, and we have the next slide, the first slide of the sermon, has a lighting cue. But it's always awkward, like waiting for the end of that bumper video, especially if it's like fading out. It goes to black, and it feels like the lights should have been on by now. But so now we can do that. We can like say like, okay, around 3 seconds or 5 seconds before this file actually reaches the end, the playhead reaches the end of that bumper video, trigger the lights on, and then the video will still fade out the way it's supposed to from a visual and audio standpoint, but the lights will come on, and then when the pastor says hello, like it's just not awkward. We don't have like an awkward like two to 3 seconds of like Alex, our pastor, standing in the dark, waiting for the lights waiting for ProPresenter to advance to the next slide. To do that. So that to me is like a cool little, I mean, it's always an annoying thing, and I never thought of like, oh, how'd they solve that? It's like, oh, this is it. Someone else probably, a lot of these ProPresenter upgrades, I know they take user feedback from the Facebook group, and they kind of prioritize, you know, these updates from that data.
Yeah.
But this is a separate thing though. This to me, the automation thing is like, this is a whole different, this is kind of a big deal. Like this, out of all these updates. Because it's like you could, I mean, I know people have run tracks from ProPresenter before, but now the ability to run tracks, throw your slides in, throw your background motions in, throw different looks in at different point, throw in camera inputs at different point if you're like using the streaming feature or whatever. That's pretty cool. I'm pretty impressed.
I appreciate too that they are using the Running Up the Hill song.
Running Up That Hill by Meg Myers. I don't even know. Is that a real song?
Yeah. It's
okay.
It's a thing right now.
Oh, okay. Funny. I'm not really in
time
touch.
code. It's a Stranger Things thing.
Yeah, didn't watch it.
Yeah, but time code is another one that's new. Exactly what I would use that for, but you know, let us know if you're watching on YouTube in the comments what you'd use that for.
Yeah, I mean, timecode is just like a more advanced way of running automation. It's kind of a higher pro level where, like, especially if you're, you know, skipping around, let's say Ableton Live or something like that, your arrangement or your song, it's going to, you know, precisely
Sync
tell.
to that.
Yeah, it's gonna like precisely sync to like the very millisecond of where you want to be for your lighting. Lights are often, you know, on time code or things like that. Whereas sometimes with just MIDI cues, you can kind of get yourself in a pickle if you like accidentally fire the same cue twice or something like that. So that to me, that's my simple understanding of the benefits of time code. But if someone has more insight on that, share it down below in the comments.
I wonder if the time code thing is going to be more CPU intensive on it. I'd be curious to see, like, if it's syncing up with a bunch of other hardware. I would be curious to see if it starts to lag at all, but
yeah,
who knows?
I doubt it. I don't think it would be that intensive. It's not like it's a bunch of video processing or anything like that. It seems like just a simple protocol.
And you scrolled right past the biggest update, bro.
Data?
Oh, which one?
API?
Spell check.
Where is it? I didn't even see it.
You're in 7.9. Right below the time code, there's like other noticeable upgrades, and it's like spell check.
Right there. Yes.
Yep. Yeah.
Spell check enabled by default. I bet you could. There's some funny ProPresenter fails out there for misspellings on slides.
Yeah,
And then,
definitely
well, it also says,
send us all your funny ones.
yes. Well, it says to automatically refresh the inputs preference for visibility of existing and new. So there's times when I'm like, oh, I plugged this in, but now I have to restart ProPresenter for it to recognize it. So that
Yeah,
is going to be nice.
That's cool.
it's huge.
Love
You
it.
know what's not in here, guys? Macro
What?
folders.
Macro
Yeah, macro folder is
folders.
still not here.
Come on, Cody. Get on it, man.
7.11, baby.
We get that. I know our macro list is like huge and you just scroll through it a ton. Just simple little folders. Like just like this, how there's like playlist folders. Like it can't be that hard. Just take like 5 minutes.
How many implementations of this do you think will go? Let's take bets right now. Do you think like 7 point what? How many more iterations before the next number or the next? Because they said it wasn't going to be ProPresenter 7, 8, 9, 10. They said it was just going to be ProPresenter, even though it still says ProPresenter 7. So do you think it'll keep going like up in numbers?
No.
Yeah, 99.
They just
And
need to
then-
drop. They just need to drop the numbers and just call it ProPresenter.
Like
And-
Chrome is on like version.
Yeah.
It's like it looks like an IP address.
Yeah. Exactly.
There you go.
Exactly.
Be like Chrome.
Version 103.0.4 digits, 0.3 digits.
Subnet 255.
All right. Another significant update to software that we love using in worship, and that is Lightkey. Lightkey is a very user-friendly lighting software that we use ourselves at all of our churches, and then we've helped a lot of our clients switch to it. I just saw a good story of someone in our Facebook group the other day who switched from, was it Vista to Lightkey or something like that? And I'm not saying that Vista isn't powerful or Grand MA isn't powerful. Of course they are. They're great pieces of software, especially if you have a like dedicated lighting designer who has the time to learn it and work it and program it. But for a lot of churches, I'd say 99% of churches, they would be fine using Lightkey. So they had an update here where I think the coolest part about Lightkey 4 is hue integration with hue lights.
Yeah.
So I don't know how this works. I haven't tried it yet. But the ability to like, okay, you control bulbs, LED strips, smart plugs, and other types of fixtures by Philips Hue. Like that's just cool because I think for stage design, lighting stuff, it's like for a pretty affordable price point, you could get some neat like hue bulbs that are dimmable, can change colors. I think it's more going to help for the ambiance that people can do, especially in a very small church setting on a pretty tight budget. The only concern I have about hue lights is if they get a little bit weird with like the refresh rates and stuff like that with cameras if you're like when you're live streaming, because my experience using cameras with hue lights, they kind of they can get flickery and stuff. So but I think this is really promising to be able to do this.
I didn't even think of the smart plugs. Like reading that now, I'm thinking about Christmas.
Yeah. Dude.
Yeah. Yep.
Like not having to do a dimmer box to set up your like Christmas trees and Christmas lights and stuff. It's like,
Yep.
just use a smart plug. Turn
Yep.
this tree on. Turn that tree on.
Yep.
And it just allows you to get started quicker with, learning how to control lights for your gatherings. Like most church plants or small churches, or maybe they're meeting in like a gym. Like now you at least have the ability to bring in maybe some more portable fixtures like these little hue lights and control them and add some variety to your aesthetic without having to get up on a lift for the school gymnasium you're meeting in, or without having to shell out thousands of dollars for DMX fixtures. This is a really cool option.
Yeah, imagine if you were in a portable setting like that, Luke, and your house lights were just like, well, remember those like lamp stands I had in the studio that are like the cool Edison bulbs, and like you could just like get for a couple $100 get a bunch of lamp stands like that, and get the Philips Hue bulbs in those, and then you could easily dim them from your computer and control those. Or if you're in a small church environment, maybe you're like one of the small like storefront church somewhere, and you don't want to hire an electrician to come put like a DMX controlled switch for your main power, just put a bunch of hue bulbs in your house lights, and then you can control them with Lightkey. So I think that'll be really handy for a lot of people.
Yeah, that's good job, Lightkey. Big fans.